Unless you've been living under a rock for the past 24 hours, I'm sure anyone that's watching this video has been made aware of the contract situation that's been going on between Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday, he signed possibly the biggest contract, not possibly, for sure the biggest contract we've ever seen in sports history. The 10-year deal keeps Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs linked together for at least the next decade, and already, I believe, makes Patrick Mahomes the most paid player in NFL history. This deal sent shockwaves through the NFL because we did know that the two were going to be working on a contract extension. We just didn't really think that a decade-long deal that could possibly spike to being worth over $500 million was really in the realm of possibility. We haven't really seen a 10-year deal be completed between a player and his team for a long time, and it's mostly because decade-long deals really don't work out for the team that is giving the player a 10-year deal. This deal really reminded a lot of people about baseball deals because a lot of teams in baseball use 8+ year deals in order to persuade free agents to come to their team, and it's a smart move really only on the player side to take that deal because you're pretty much guaranteed to be getting paid money after you're done playing. There's no way. I mean, just looking at contracts that are signed in the MLB right now, Bryce Harper has a 13-year deal that supposedly is supposed to keep him tied to the Philadelphia Phillies until 2031. There is no way in God's green earth that Bryce Harper is going to be in Philadelphia by, I would say, 2025. Whether he retires, whether he is traded, whether he demands to be cut, or whatever ends up happening. There's no way. Not only is he not making it to 2031 in Philly, he's probably not making it to 2025 in Philly. That's just how weird these deals work and why many people question why the deals end up being done. The only real comparable contract between Patrick Mahomes and any other football player in history is Michael Vick's contract that he signed in 2005 with the Atlanta Falcons. However, when you compare the value between the two contracts, it's not even close. Michael Vick's contract was worth about $130 million, while Patrick Mahomes is well over $500 million. However, we quickly saw that Michael Vick's contract with the Falcons he wasn't going to be able to live up to the contract because of off-the-field issues. Now, going from Michael Vick's off-the-field issues and saying that that's applicable to Patrick Mahomes, I really don't see that being the case because of the situation that Patrick Mahomes is presented with and how he seems to go about his everyday life. I just don't see those two situations being comparable. However, being able to say that Patrick Mahomes might not be able to live up to a 12-year contract, to me at least, that does seem like a plausible case. Now, before going too deep into that thought, I do want to say I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's probably the best quarterback the NFL has seen come into the league, at least in the past 10 to 15 years. When people start comparing him to other quarterbacks, it doesn't really hold up because whatever quarterback he's being compared to, whether it's been Brett Favre, whether it's been really that seems to be the main quarterback people compare him to is Brett Favre, but Brett Favre didn't have the decision-making that Patrick Mahomes has. Nobody has, at least in my opinion in NFL history, no one has the complete package at quarterback like Patrick Mahomes does. He's got the arm strength, he's got a great football brain, he's got great decision-making. He's more athletic than the average quarterback. I'd even say he's probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks. And he just gets it. That's really the only thing you can say about Patrick Mahomes is he gets it done every single game, and he just gets it. And really what I think I'm trying to say about this contract is what it does for the Chiefs is it puts a negative effect on their ability to keep a Super Bowl contender alive. Because even though they have the best quarterback in the NFL, even though they possibly have one of the most talented quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen, a contract that large that pays one singular player that much money is not a recipe for success. And I'm going to compare it again to baseball. we see the top 10 players who have the highest contracts in the MLB, almost none of them made the playoffs last season. Whether you look at Bryce Harper, whether you look at Mike Trout, whether you look at Manny Machado, whether you look at a lot of guys that are in the MLB right now who have the top end of contracts, you're paying one guy so much money. You can't allocate other positions of your team, whether it's baseball or football. You can't allocate to other positions to keep your team competitive because you have one player who's making so much money. The Chiefs have this problem with 3 players now because now they have Patrick Mahomes, who is going to be making $30 million by 2022. They also have Tyreek Hill, who's making $20+ million, and they also have Frank Clark, who's making $26 million. I put together a little graphic just to explain kind of what I'm talking about. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and their free agents that they're going to have over the next couple of years, I mean free agents that are from the team who are going to be entering free agency, you look at the list on the right, and there's a lot of big names for this team. I know Anthony Sherman is not really a name that's floated around NFL circles a lot, but he's very vital to this team's success. Guys like Demarcus Robinson, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, many guys on this list. And then there's the big names. You got guys like Travis Kelce. You got names like Sammy Watkins and Damian Williams. You got your starting left and right tackle, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. And the guy in the back end of their defense who really transformed their defense to be able to keep them in close games and be able to win them games sometimes, Tyrann Mathieu. So there's a lot of guys on this list who aren't even on their 2022 payroll, and their 2022 payroll is almost over the cap. It's not really almost over the cap, but they only have $80 million in cap, and that's assuming a cap space that's comparable to this year. The way the cap space is allocated to each NFL team is the ticket sales, stadium sales from concession stands, any sales that are involved with the NFL in general is put into one big pool. So whatever NFL team, whatever team or however much the Seahawks makes goes into a pool that affects how much cap space the New York Giants are able to give out to their players. Every single team, all of their sales are put into one big pool, and then it's evenly allocated to all 32 teams. So with the coronavirus situation, it's looking very likely that if there even is a football season this year, the sales from concession stands, pro shops inside the stadium, anything in general is going to be probably, I would almost say, $20 to $30 million less than what it is this year, just because there's going to be so much less sales within the stadiums. So now that even presents a bigger problem for the Chiefs, because even if you're assuming that the salary cap stays at about what it was this year, they're going to be struggling to be able to keep all of the players that I have mentioned on the right, like Damian Williams and other guys like that. Not only this, the graphic that I have, this doesn't even assume the 6 draft picks that the Kansas City Chiefs took in the 2020 NFL draft. Guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Willie Gay Jr. They haven't signed any of their draft picks yet. So that's probably another 20 to 30 million. Probably not 20 to 30 million. It's probably like 15 to 20 million that hasn't been allocated into the 2022 cap space yet. So they're probably actually only going to be looking at $40 to $50 million to bring back these guys by 2022. And you see, when you look at this graphic that I have up, you see I have a question mark next to defensive tackle Chris Jones' name. And that's because we don't even know, the Chiefs don't even know what they're going to be able to give Chris Jones. Because if he wants top-end defensive tackle money, it's at least $15 to $16 million per season. I think DJ Reader is the 10th best or 10th highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they gave him like $12 or $14 million. So if Chris Jones is looking at, and deservedly so, Chris Jones is one of probably the top 3 defensive tackles in the NFL. He should be getting paid top 3 defensive tackle money. But the Chiefs don't have top 3 defensive tackle money. They have like top 30 defensive tackle money. So it's going to be hard for them to bring him back at the price tag he wants. So it's already with the Mahomes contract, and I won't even say with the Mahomes contract because they should have signed him to a high contract. They should have signed him to a contract that gave him a lot of money. But his contract combined with Tyreek Hill's contract, combined with Frank Clark's contract, it pretty much already spells the end of Chris Jones' time in Kansas City. Whether he ends up getting just not signed, he already has said he's not going to sign his franchise tender. Whether that means he gets traded, whatever it ends up meaning, it's already being spelled out that Chris Jones is probably not going to be with the Kansas City Chiefs for much longer. This presents the long-term effects for the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, because now not only are starters going to have to leave the team and find teams who are able to pay them what they want, they're going to lose out on a lot of their depth, because the guys on this list, guys like Breland Speaks and Alex Okafor, Daniel Sorensen, guys like that, they're the guys who are able to step in for an injured player, for a guy who's just not playing up to, his normal capabilities. They're the guys that step up and keep the ship afloat. And if they lose all of their depth, they're really going to be in a really tough spot in terms of being able to stay competitive and being able to win multiple championships. This is why when you look at what the New England Patriots have done over the past 20 seasons, there's a reason they never made Tom Brady the most paid quarterback in the NFL, because the recipe doesn't work. When you have multiple guys who are at the top end of their position in terms of payment, especially at the quarterback position, if you're the highest paid quarterback, you're going to be paid the highest salary in the NFL. That's just how it works. When you have a guy or multiple guys who are the highest paid at their position, it doesn't end up working out, because the recipe, you need to have multiple guys who are at least paid, at least underpaid. Tom Brady throughout his career made less than Eli Manning. He's underpaid. But the New England Patriots needed to do that in order to stay competitive and be able to win 6 championships. Now, is Tom Brady Patrick Mahomes? No, Patrick Mahomes is probably far more talented. He's got far more arm strength, he's far more athletic, and he's just probably, all in all, overall more talented. However, it's still the same recipe. He became not only the highest paid player in the NFL now, not only the highest paid player in NFL before, he might go down as the highest paid player to ever play in the NFL, because he set the bar so high for a contract. People are talking about what this means for Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson or any other quarterback whose contract comes up. No quarterback is going to be able to sniff what Patrick Mahomes is going to be making with his current contract. Even though Dak Prescott wanted $40+ million, he's going to have to settle and realize he's probably only worth $25 to $30 million. Deshaun Watson probably is going to have to say the same exact thing, because they're nowhere near Patrick Mahomes' talent level, but they still deserve to be paid a high salary. But they also need to realize a $25 to $30 million salary, even though it's not up to what Patrick Mahomes makes, it keeps their team competitive because it allows more money to be allocated to other positions. And I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes doesn't realize this. I'm just saying that the recipe probably is not going to work to win multiple Super Bowls. And they're going to have to let go of a lot of key players, whether it's big names like Sammy Watkins or Eric Fisher, Mitchell Schwartz, Travis Kelce, guys like Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones. They're going to have to let go of somebody. They're going to have to let go of a lot of guys. They're going to have to let go of a lot of guys who are key contributors both to this last Super Bowl run and to future Super Bowl runs. They're just going to have to let go of those guys because they don't have the money to do it. And the NFL isn't like the NBA or the MLB for that fact, where owners of the team can just say, screw it, we're going to go over the salary cap. If they do that, they have punishments that are handed down by the league. The Pittsburgh Steelers a little while ago, I believe it was in 2001 or something like that, they ended up losing a third-round pick because they went over the salary cap. So the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to pull a Lakers and just say we're going to go 30, $40 million over the salary cap and just pay it. They're not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to let go of somebody, and it's probably going to be a big name. It might be a Travis Kelce. It might be a Tyrann Mathieu. It might be a Chris Jones. But just don't be surprised when it happens, and honestly, don't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs don't win that many Super Bowls. If they win 1 to 2 more Super Bowls, I think they would still be happy. But I think they're going into this deal thinking we could win 5 to 6 Super Bowls with this guy at quarterback. And you might be able to do it with Patrick Mahomes. You just can't do it with the contract that you gave him. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't like it, make sure you hit the dislike button. Any feedback from you guys at this point is much appreciated. If you like the content that I put out, make sure you hit subscribe. If there's anything you think I forgot to talk about, make sure you leave a comment down below. And I tried to read as many of you guys' comments as possible. I hope you end up having a good rest of your day or night, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.